how to find ourselves the right kind of astrologer. I feel like so many of us just, Google these things or take an advice from a friend who says, wow, so and so is a great astrologer. Just, go try that consultation. And I get a lot of recommendations from people who've done a consultation and they've advised their friends. But here I am giving you this advice as an astrologer that instead of listening to your friends, I think the number one thing you should do is research. Research the sort of astrologer that you're going to go to. Maybe you're looking for certain things, you're wanting them to speak in a certain way, you're wanting them to be a certain way, you want certain kind of clarity. Maybe they're an expert in one area of astrology, not an expert in the other area, and it's completely okay because astrology is such a vast field. It's absolutely impossible to know everything in one lifetime, and all astrologers will admit to that. So I think the number one thing that you can do to find yourself the right astrologer is to research. So even when somebody recommends you an astrologer, I would say go research that person, go to their website, just get more information about them so that that person feels like, yes, maybe this is the sort of person who can give me the right sort of advice. You need to develop a certain amount of faith in that person, right? Another thing to actually look into is the communication style of an astrologer. So most astrologers are wonderful with what they do, right? It's like doctors. Most doctors are really well read. They know what they're doing. They've seen so many patients. But is that astrologer good for you or not? That's what we need to find. So that astrologer can be great for other people. Is this astrologer great for you? How do you find out? You have to see the communication style. When they're speaking, do you relate to that? Do you understand what they're saying? Or it's just a lot of astrology jargon and you're caught up in that, and by the end of the session you think, wow, this person knows a lot, but I didn't understand anything. The whole point of an astrological consultation is for you to understand what your horoscope is all about and what your life journey is all about. So if an astrologer is not able to translate the knowledge of astrology and your horoscope out to you in the most simplest manner possible, that is easy for you to understand, then that's not the right match for you, right? If they're not able to do that, they're not the right match. If they can do that effortlessly, if they connect you, they use the kind of vocabulary that resonates most with you, then that's your astrologer. Another thing I feel is very important to judge in an astrologer, and I feel like as a client you should just definitely go ahead and judge that astrologer, because look, if you are going to a doctor and that doctor is going to do heart surgery on you, you're going to look into that doctor, you're going to research them, you're going to know more about them, ask 10 people about them, because this is a person who's taking a life and death decision for you, right? They're going to be operating on you, and it's very, very crucial. In the same way, an astrologer becomes a very crucial source of giving you insight about your own life. That astrological consultation is going to be transformative. It's going to really turn your life around for you in so many ways, because never you would have ever heard a stranger say things about you that would, in an ideal situation, would 100% resonate with you. So we're talking about a very, very powerful guide here, and powerful not because they have some great information and knowledge, no, not just because of the sort of impact they will have on you. So it's very important to notice the sort of motivation that they come from. Is the motivation for doing astrology and doing your consultation very superficial, where it's ego-based, or is it based on a sense of service, that they are in service to the people who come to them? Because it's very easy to be ego-based in a profession like this. You think that about other people, you think you know other people's lives. It just instantly becomes very ego-based. You also start thinking, wow, I can predict the future, how much power I have. But that's the whole point of astrology. Astrology makes you more humble. The study of astrology will make you more and more humble. It's a very humbling science. It makes you realize that you're absolutely puny. So a good astrologer will have the humility, and their motivation will also be coming from a place of service, of wanting to do a lot of good for the person who comes to them. Because I also see that in astrology we can make ego-based predictions as well. Whereas let's say at 15 years of age you fell off your bicycle. Now how is that piece of information really helping you or me or guiding you for your future? Unless it's related, but then that's an exception. But making ego-based predictions where an astrologer looks really good, but it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't serve a greater purpose in terms of guiding you. So I would say be really mindful when someone is making very ego-based predictions. That's your responsibility to judge that. And last but not the least, the level of spirituality that astrologer is trying to pursue or trying to achieve, because at the end of the day, astrology is a very spiritual science. It's a pursuit in being more and more spiritual. We as students of astrology at a very nascent stage, we're all making predictions and we're all doing consultations for clients, but eventually the whole purpose of astrology is to help you with your own evolution as an astrologer. So is your astrologer really spiritually inclined? What are they doing in terms of their rituals and practices? And even if you don't know about that, there is a sort of spiritual impact that they will make on you, and you can sense that. These are things that you can literally feel in the presence of an astrologer, because only then the impact of that astrologer is going to be a positive one. Like I said, all of these things are very interrelated, but I'm segregating them so you can actually really have that very clearly boxed into certain compartments in your head when you're going and approaching an astrologer. So if an astrologer is very spiritually inclined, what's coming through them is a very potent purity of thought. There is no ulterior motive to what they're saying. The motive is your betterment, and that should really be the pursuit of a person who's trying to do astrology, who's trying to do consultations, who's trying to guide you. At a very young age, in a very young stage of learning astrology, yes, all of us are very thrilled about, oh, I got that prediction right. But the more you age, the more you mature as an astrologer, you realize that the point is not to make great predictions, or it's not like that wonderful trick that you're doing in front of the client to impress them. It's really about the motivation. Where do you want to take your client? How do you want to really guide them? How do you want to help them reach their highest potential? Because between a client and an astrologer, that astrologer should ideally be invisible in terms of their needs and desires. It's the needs and desires of the client, and that should be fulfilled. So the client needs to travel in their journey from A to B. It's not that astrologer needs to impress the person who's just walked in and has a certain impression of them, and from A to B, their impression of the astrologer changes. That's not the purpose of it. So I really hope that these pointers helped you. And of course, impact can be in a lot of ways. When an astrologer guides you, you do feel a sort of ascension. You do feel a sense of evolution in that consultation itself. You feel truly guided and aligned in that session, and it can feel different for different people, but that's the feeling one should have during a session, and that's one of the ways of knowing that was this the right astrologer for me or not.